Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Wasim here from the channel Handsome Smells. Thank you for joining me in another video. Today I'll be doing a review of a classic from the house of Guerlain. This one is Habit Rouge or the Toilette. So this one was released in 1965 and is classified as a amber woody. The notes behind this scent was the master perfumer, the last of the Guerlain family members to be a master nose, Jean-Paul Guerlain. So he was the fourth generation master perfumer at Guerlain. His father, grandfather, great-grandfather were the noses and founders of the house of Guerlain. He worked there from I believe, the late 50s, early 60s, all the way until the early 2000s as a master perfumer, until he hanged up his gloves, so to speak, and gave over the reins to Terry Wassa. And he stayed on as a consultant until early 2010s, when he was completely removed from the Guerlain company. The reason for him being completely removed was because of some remarks he made on French TV, which many people considered to be quite racist. It was in regards to his inspiration for creating Samsara, a classic from the house that he created. Some of the fragrances that he's also been behind are considered classics of the house of Guerlain. These include Vetiver, a masculine classic from Guerlain, and also a classic from the 90s, which Jean-Paul Guerlain was also behind, which was Heritage. So today we'll be doing a review of Habit Rouge or the Toilette. I've worked through quite a few bottles, so this one I believe is either a 2011 or 2014 formulation. I've also got a 2015 formulation here. Both are the old Listerine style silver cap bottle, and I've also got a recent formulation which you can find in the shops today. This is a 2023 formulation in the square bottles. I much prefer the square bottles in terms of how they look. In terms of scent and the smell, they're pretty much 90 to 95% similar. There's a little bit of a difference in terms of smell, which I'll summarize in this video in a moment. But most importantly, in terms of performance on my skin, these all lasted very similarly. So the oldest, so to speak, this one is from either 2011 or 2015. I'm not sure how the performance or the scent was prior to that, but we'll be concentrating and looking at this bottle. I'll hold up this one because I quite like the square bottle and I quite like the label. So that was a little bit of a background regarding Habit Rouge. Let me just talk through the notes. I've got them listed here. At the top of Habit Rouge or the Toilette is lemon, Brazilian rosewood, orange, bergamot, lime, tangerine, and basil. The heart of the fragrance is rose, carnation, sandalwood, cinnamon, patchouli, jasmine, and cedar. And the base of the fragrance is vanilla, leather, amber, benzoin, oakmoss, and labdanum. So those were the notes, but what do I get on my skin? Forgot to mention, I've also reviewed the Eau de Parfum version of this. I think I've reviewed that either 2 or 3 years ago, quite a while ago. And I absolutely adored the Eau de Parfum. I think that one was released in 2003. I gave it a perfect score of 10 out of 10. So I always was on the lookout for the Eau de Toilette, and I finally bought it this year. I've been wearing this fragrance non-stop for the past, I think, 2 to 3 weeks since I first got it. So I'm just going to spray it onto my skin just to remind me of the scent. This one opens up with a beautiful, revigorating, bright, lemony citrus accord, which is backed by this slightly spicy, woody Brazilian rosewood. The opening is beautiful. The lemon comes across a little bit like candy, like these sweets that we get here in the UK, or candy, called lemon sherbet, and it gives off that sort of smell to me. And behind that lemon, fizzy sort of lemon that you get this Brazilian rosewood, which gives off like a spicier, woodier sort of smell in the background. As the fragrance develops onto my skin, in the heart, I start picking up a very gentle floral rose. Now, many reviewers and many people on Fragrantica and Base Notes talk about the rose quite prominently. On my skin, sadly, it's not very strong. It's quite subtle, but it gives off a little floral sort of nuance. But the biggest aspect that I get in the heart is the carnation. And the carnation is like a floral note which gives off a slightly spicy clove-like nuance. So this scent, it starts off very fresh and revigorating with the lemon. There's other citruses in there like the lime and the bergamot, but they're very much in the background. The lemon is the main player in the opening, and as it develops into the heart, you get a subtle rose, floral rose, and a lot of carnation, which gives off this very spicy and clove-like feeling on my skin. As the fragrance dries down into the dry down, this scent completely transforms for me. So the opening, you really get the citrus. In the heart, you get a little bit of the citrus. It starts becoming more spicy and clove-like with the note of the carnation. But in the dry down, this completely transforms on my skin and does like a 180. The scent becomes on my skin like this dry, dusty, powdery sort of vanilla infused with some amber and leather. And overall in the dry down, it just, on my skin, it comes across like a smooth, powdery, slightly dusty sort of leather with some vanilla. It's really strange, and a touch of patchouli. It's so different from what the opening is. The opening is like a fresh, bright, lemony, revigorating lemon, and it's quite candy-like. And then you get a little bit of rose in the heart, with a bit of spiciness from the carnation. But in the dry down, completely changes. I get this dusty, dry, like vanilla infused with leather and a touch of patchouli. So that's the dry down on my skin. And the dry down, like I've mentioned, is like dry, like dusty dryness with some sweetness. So the dusty, dry, powderiness, sweetness on my skin. My wife was not a massive fan of me wearing this one actually. Every time I wore this and she came quite close to me, she mentioned that I smelled really old. I didn't particularly pick up on that. I didn't feel like this was a really old scent. But then again, I have quite a different taste. But she mentioned if she felt like she was teleported like 50 years back. And she said to me that I smelled like a really old bar of soap that her grandma would have used. So that was the sort of reaction that this got from her. So that was a little bit how this fragrance smelled. I did mention that I will talk about how different this one smells to the other formulations. So I'll compare the most recent formulation, the 2023 one, to this one here. The 2023 one, I get a lot more citruses in the opening. The lemon is a lot more pronounced on my skin. I believe the citrus notes have sort of subdued in the older bottles here. But they're a lot more pronounced in the newer one. I believe in a few years' time, the citrus notes in this one will probably subdue a little bit as well. And the lemon in this one, as well as the other citrus notes, are a lot stronger for me. So I do get a little bit more of the lime and the bergamot in this than I do in these older bottles in my collection. And the citruses in this come across a very old school feeling. It has the same sort of citrus feeling to me. I'm not saying they're the same sort of smell, but it gives off the same sort of characters like Eau Sauvage. But into the heart and the dry down, this performs very similarly in terms of scent on my skin. So that was the current formulation compared to this bottle here. This one here, the differences between these two, this is 2015 and this is either a 2011 or 2014. This one, the citrus is really subdued. In the opening, I get a lot more of the Brazilian rosewood with the lemon, but into the heart and the dry down, very, very similar between all three. This one here is a mix between the two. I still get a lot more of the lemon in the opening. In the heart, actually, I get a little bit more rose in this one, but it dries down to the same sort of powdery, dusty sort of sweet, vanilla, leathery sort of smell. In terms of performance, this one really disappointed on my skin. I don't know why. Maybe because of my skin chemistry, or maybe I'm becoming nose blind to this. But this one, the Eau de Toilette, didn't really perform that excellently on my skin, which was like a massive surprise to me. A lot of people on Fragrantica, Base Notes, a lot of YouTube reviewers have mentioned that this one performs excellently on their skin. But for me, this one was quite weak in that regard. I get longevity around 6 hours, and performance in terms of projection, it's strong for the first 2 to 3 hours. After that, it sits a lot more closer to my skin and becomes more of a skin scent. So yeah, performance not great on my skin. Might just be my skin chemistry or my nose becoming nose blind. In terms of occasions, I think this would work really well as someone's signature scent. I really saw myself wearing this one nearly every single day. I don't know why, but I just found this one to be really sophisticated, quite classy and quite gentlemanly. And I think that would work really well as somebody's signature fragrance. It could also work really well as somebody's work scent and someone's formal scent. So when you're dressed up a little bit, this one would work excellently. In terms of seasons, I think this one works in every single season apart from the very high heat of summer. So this one would work in spring and the fall and autumn brilliantly. Also in the winter as well. Uh, and maybe in the summer, unless it's super hot. If it's super hot, the dry down of this would be a little bit too much. I think with that sweet powderiness, I think there's better fragrances out there in the high heat. Overall rating, I think I'm going to give this one a score of 8 out of 10. And it's quite a high score considering how bad it performs on my skin. And it's just because of how nice the fragrance smells. The opening is just so beautiful. I've not had that sort of opening in any other fragrance before. That beautiful candy like lemon opening and what you get in the heart with the rose and the carnation spiciness. And the dry down is quite beautiful in the sense of that dry, dusty powderiness of the vanilla and then some leather as well. So overall, beautiful scent. Just a massive shame how it performs on my skin, but an ideal signature fragrance for a classy gentleman. So that was my review of Habit Rouge Eau de Toilette. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do leave me a like and a comment below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. Until next time, my friends, see you later.